All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers G1 Rough Stuff. He was part of the 1989 toy line, which was the first year to introduce micromasters, and was one of the like subgroups of micromasters called the micromaster transports. There were two Autobots and two Decepticons. I believe the Autobots were Erector and Overload, not Overlord, and then the Decepticons were Rough Stuff and Flat Top. And yeah, it's a pretty neat figure. Mine is missing a few parts. He's supposed to come with a few missiles that plug onto the inside of these ports here and point forward, and then not as consequential for this mode, but there is like a little handle that flips out for the other mode that plugs into these and it kind of flips back. Mine is missing those parts, but otherwise is complete here. And yeah, in this mode, I mean, how the transports worked basically is it had a little kind of regular size micromaster figure, and then some sort of like extra add-on bit that they were towing along. I mean, for three of them, it was like a bit that they were towing along. Then in the case of Flat Top, it was like he was a little jet that came with like an aircraft carrier that transformed. So it wasn't like a cargo thing like it was for the other three. But you know, for most of them, it was, you know, just like a big kind of ridiculous trailer. In the case of Rough Stuff, he's kind of like a military vehicle. Obviously, this is not really based on anything that actually exists, but I think it's a neat looking mode here. Definitely, you know, it's neat. I mean, it's got like a tiny cabin in this huge kind of ridiculous section, but I think that it looks cool. He does have some fake wheels back here, just kind of sculpted into the side of this bit with some actual wheels underneath. It rolls okay. Some of the pins for the wheels have gotten a little bit rusty, so you know, it doesn't roll all that well, but it rolls okay. I always find that for some reason too, he always has like a little bit of wobble to him when you put him on the table, which is weird because it's just like a huge flat. I think maybe one of the wheels is like slightly misaligned or something like that, and that's what's contributing to that. But it's a little bit annoying, but not the end of the world. I do like the look of the cab here though, with the purple windows on the green. I think that looks really cool. But yeah, in terms of comparisons, for a standard size comparison, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, just for that, you know, for an average size modern deluxe, and then for an average size modern micromaster, here he is with Siege Swindler, and then here he is with the only other micromaster transport that I own, G1 Erector here, which was the first video I ever did on this channel. It's not a great video, but you got to get started somewhere, and I think that they look pretty cool together. And again, we can kind of, you know, if we take off these sections here, we can show off just how the individuals look with each other, and then there again with Swindler, just so you can see kind of how they stack up with modern micromasters. Now, unfortunately, they don't have the same like connections. Can you do? Nah, it doesn't quite fit either way. What to what end? But they don't quite have the same connection, unfortunately. So like on the bottom of Erector here, he's got this bigger peg that this bit goes into, and that and Rough Stuff has like the smaller peg. You know, these were all made in the same year, so I can't imagine why they wouldn't just use like the same connection point, so you could actually swap them. But you know, it would be cool, but it's fine. I mean, since he's got the smaller peg, you can kind of have him like tow along Erector's trailer. Like it's really wobbly in there, but if you have it on the ground, like he does actually tow it along okay if you want to do something like that. But you know, that's all right. It's not like a totally necessary feature. But anyway, that's what the two of them look like together. To get onto transformation, we'll just start off with the smaller figure here, the actual figure, Rough Stuff. He's very simple. You can kind of see how this is going to work. He does have just his head kind of sticking out the back of his truck here, which is a little bit ugly, but when it's in the big trailer, you hardly notice it, I feel like. But yeah, he's very simple. Just to transform him, you flip down the legs and then flip up the feet and then flip up the head, and there we have Rough Stuff in his robot mode. And yeah, he's got a bit of a backpack, but otherwise I feel like he's a pretty cool looking micromaster. In terms of articulation, he really only has swivels here at the arms. This one I feel like is like super weird wobbly loose. Like I don't know why it doesn't seem to be, you know, cracked or anything, so I don't know why this one feels so wibbly on there while this one feels okay, but whatever. You can see he's got little arms sculpted on the inside there at a slight bent position, which I feel like is kind of a weird choice, but whatever. Nice looking head sculpt there, I feel like. And then for this whole section, basically it turns into a little jet for him to ride. So what you can kind of do is you take these side sections and these fold down as wings here. You kind of have to parts form this bit. You just kind of take it off. It's just kind of stuck on these two little, slots here, and put that down. Also, this can hinge up and down for truck mode if you wanted to, although mine at a certain point tends to kind of droop a little bit, which is a little bit annoying. And then you take this section and flip that out to be kind of like the cockpit, and then you take this and now you put it into these two peg holes up here in the front. And then, like I said, there was a handle in here that you're supposed to flip out, so he could actually kind of like ride it. Basically, you just got this little peg right down here and this little peg hole on his feet, and you can have him stand up in there, and then he would kind of like hold the little bar there, which is a bit silly. And then the missiles would kind of just stay in the same place, because it's like, oh yeah, you've got it all aerodynamic so it can fly, sort of, but now you've just got this guy standing up in it, which is silly. Like, I feel like, especially since part of his transformation is that, you could have put the peg here or something so that you could have him like sit down in it. I feel like that would just like work a lot better for him kind of like riding a jet. Like, you can put him in there, but you can't actually peg it in because the peg and the hole don't line up anymore. But, you can do that, and it works relatively well, since it's, just a little cavity in here anyway. Like, unless you flip it upside down, he's not really going anywhere. But yeah, it's a kind of a silly thing. I feel like he's one of the ones that makes slightly more sense of the transports. Like, Flat Top, for example, is like, oh, it's a little jet that lands on an aircraft carrier, and then if you transform the jet to a robot mode, the aircraft carrier transforms into a jet for the guy to ride. And it's just like, what on earth is the point of that? It's just like completely redundant. It's just like, you could either be a jet or ride a jet. To what end? I don't know. His at least is like, oh, he's got a ground transport and an aerial transport. Even if the aerial transport looks super silly, at least it's got some difference in functionality there. But yeah, it's not my favorite. Honestly, I think of the two that I have, Erector is the better one. But yeah, to get on to comparisons with him in this mode. For the standard size comparison, here he is with Sideswipe. Obviously, they scale as you'd imagine that they would. Here he is with Swindler for a modern Micromaster. Obviously, about the same size there. They pretty much stack up. And then here he is again with Erector with his little base mode here, just so you can compare how they work there. And obviously, I think that there's just a bit more going on with Erector's base mode here. Obviously, it's a bit silly too, since he's got these two guns pointing in the same direction that get in the way of each other. But it works generally. Like I said, there's still no they use a different peg slot connection to get there, so you can't really have him you can just put him on there, but they don't actually interact with each other's bases at all, which is a little bit silly. I feel like as a design thing, I think they kind of got the hang of that in the second year of the Micromasters, where they really upped the interplayability with the Micromaster combiners and stuff like that. Whereas these guys, even though they're all kind of from the same variety, they don't really interchange as much, which would have been a neat play feature. But yeah, no, like I said, overall, I think I still like Erector better. I mean, this set is a little bit incomplete since it doesn't have the handle and the missiles, but there's just kind of more interesting stuff I feel like going on with Erector. But they're both fun. They're both a little bit silly. Yeah, I'd love to get Flat Top and Overload at some point to complete the collection of the 4 of these guys. But for now, I think it's cool. I just got I got in a lot on eBay. There was this guy was in a pack with a few other Micromasters, a few other G1 Micromasters. And then when I got him, I was like, ooh, I should track down this bit. I bet I could find it fairly cheap on eBay if it doesn't come with the Micromaster. And that was the case. Obviously, still missing a few parts here, and they wrote in Sharpie on the bottom of it. Dude, what are you doing? But whatever. That doesn't bother me all that much. But yeah, pretty much just rambling at this point. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Make sure to check me out on my Instagram account. That's toys.n.art. And without further ado, here we have Transformers G1 Micromaster Transport Roughstuff.